our attention as Nigerians, our attention has been called to a case scheduled for Friday this week. Today is Tuesday, May 20, 2025. This week, Friday, a case has been scheduled for hearing in the Sharia court, Zamfara State, about a lady, a 22 years old girl who converted to Christianity from Islam. We are alerted by some newspapers today that she will be tried in a Sharia court this Friday in Zamfara State, Nigeria, for converting to Christianity from Islam. The question is whether Nigerians have no right to convert to any religion of their choice, or to even stay without religion. Because our constitution, for all I know, guarantees freedom of association and freedom of religion. Despite all the lie by Nigerians politicians, the Boko Haram Muslim community was not a terrorist organization. It was turned into a terrorist organization by their fellow Muslims who faulted their own approach to Islam, again bordering on freedom of religion and association. Boko Haram was a peaceful organization protesting the haram, trailing Western education. And I give you some examples. The so-called fuel subsidy, that is English, from Western education in Nigerian context. Fuel subsidy. How does fuel subsidy apply to Nigeria that has abundance of petroleum and is living on petrol money? Fuel subsidy applies to nations that have no fuel, they have no petroleum, but other resources from which they subsidize fuel for their citizens. Our rulers borrowed it to be stealing Nigeria's money and impoverishing the people despite having petroleum. That is the type of thing the Boko Haram Muslim community is protesting. Not violently. It became violent because of Muslim imperialists questioning their own version of Islam. Another example, end academic allowance, cooked up by the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities, which is not end academic allowance, but a bribe between ASU leadership and government to stall increment of salaries to federal universities workers, academic and non-academic, due since 2013. Go and check the history of this fraudulent end academic allowance. It started in 2013 when another increment of salaries was due for federal universities workers, academic and non-academic. So this type of thing. And ASU leadership in 2012 amended the constitution to be extorting a percentage of each ASU member's monthly salary monthly. So these are the type of haram that the movement is referring to. But they use Islamic politics to attack them, putting the war squarely on Nigeria's neck, squandering human lives and the economic resources of Nigeria. That is pure Boko Haram, Boko Haram. Boko is the Hausa for Hausa rendering of book. And haram is fraud, corruption, misappropriation, and so on. So, this religion called Islam is creating problem for Nigeria. And they want to get to power by all means. It is my turn. It hasn't become rotational among them. It's my turn. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And that's why they are all sustaining the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community. Also S-men terrorism. Because these are Fulani people who brought Islam to this country. So it's time now to rise up. And that's my fear for this Peter Obi. Because they said he's a sentimental Catholic. That he uses power as a governor of Anambra State to favor the Catholic Church. My fear there is that he's going to support this politicization of Islam and Christianity. That's my fear of him. It's the only fear I have of him. And he also started to go to breakfast with Muslims. So, you know, all this. But where I'm going now is that Zainab has no freedom of association, freedom of religion that the rest of us. And the Boko Haram case must be revisited. All the haram being perpetrated in Nigeria, protested by Boko Haram, must be reviewed. What is end academic allowance that is not calculated for the workers? How did the end become end? By who? What is fuel subsidy in a nation living on fuel money? If a concept borrowed from nations that have no fuel but other resources from which they subsidize fuel for their people. But now, this Friday, this lady, Zainab Muhammadu, is going to face Sharia court, in which she may be sentenced to death. And then you have to begin to have human rights activists begin to protest and all of that. But the starting point is what has happened to Nigeria's constitution that guarantees freedom of association, freedom of religion. But our rulers are imposing Christianity and Islam on us. And I'm saying that this our Peter Obi, as much as I like him, was accused of favoring Catholic Church when he was as a Catholic. When he was the governor of Anambra State. And all this going to breakfast with a Muslim when you are not a Muslim, when you didn't fast. What type of hypocrisy is that? And signaling that is going to favor politicization of Islam and Christianity. One thing has led to another for me to be saying all these things so that Nigeria can rethink. Our leaders are sick in the head. They are sick in the head. They are making Nigeria a nation averse to rule of law. A nation opposed to rule of law. That is what Nigeria is. It's a lawless nation. A nation ruled by Muslims and Christians, Islamizing and Christianizing the country rather than facing the Nigeria and her difficulties. To ease the difficulties, bring peace, bring development. No, look at Tinubu now. What has changed? The situation is only getting worse under him. He started with Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, a Fulani Muslim imperialist who started the war against Boko Haram, perpetrated by Goodluck Ebele Asukuwe Jonathan, another fanatical Christian, abusing Christianity and imposing the war against Boko Haram on Christians, saying that Boko Haram is against both Christians and Muslims. When and where? He started with Jonathan, who sold the idea to the Christian Association of Nigeria. That's the secret of it. Boko Haram did not have anything to do with anybody other than fellow Muslims who are opposing their own form of Islam. And their own form of Islam is Islam for justice for everybody, and not Rankadede form of Islam. That's what the Boko Haram Muslim community is advocating. But the Rankadede people are the powerful people, and they took advantage of Yar'Adua to start attacking the community. And now Nigeria has been bloody since 2009 when Umaru Musa Yar'Adua started it till date. And now you have a Muslim as president, Muslim as vice president in this country. So how do we save Zainab Muhammadu and restore her religious freedom to the glory of all of us rather than to the shame of all of us?